chair, using a chair in your yoga practice, I think is wonderful for a few reasons. When we do standing poses on a chair, we allow a different shift of weight bearing to happen. So specifically our knees tend to bear a little bit less weight, so we can start to feel the range of motion in our hips a little bit better. We can get into the hips just a little bit more openness in the hips when we don't have to have all of our weight bearing down on our other joints. So if you tend to have tight hips, it's a nice way to work with practice. And certainly in pregnancy, it's an excellent way to practice. So if you're having any trouble with pelvic floor pressure, knee pressure, ankle pressure, these are really wonderful way. It's a wonderful way to do your standing poses. And it's kind of fun. It's just something different, a little something to try something different and understand your body in a different way. So the hips can hold so much. We weight bear down on our pelvis all day. So let's just give our hips some love today. We're going to do a little bit of a hip loving practice. Okay, so close your eyes and sit up straight and tall. And take a moment to drop in. And maybe your morning or your day has been rush, and you finally have a moment to pause and stop. Maybe you just woke up and the engine hasn't really revved yet. So whatever has happened before now, let's just take a moment to regulate our nervous system, to come into a place where we have some ease in the mind and body. Pay attention to how you are breathing. And if it's comfortable and you're able to, elongate the exhales just a little bit more than the inhales. Let's just take a few moments to just be in the breath. Notice what hinders the breath. Can you relax your shoulders? Can you soften your face? Is your posture stable so that you have an open heart, open chest? Can you feel into the diaphragm and let it move? If it's tricky to harness the mind into the breath, just be aware of that as well. Try not to force or berate yourself if your mind is a little racy or unfocused. It's okay, it will get there. As you're ready, place your hands together at your heart. Bow into the space so we have the mind, the thinking, the heart, the feeling, and the hands, the doing, all centered together. Create an intention. What can your practice serve in you today? Release the hands. Let's come on to our back. So if you're comfortable lying down on your back, you can lie down on your back. You can always be on all fours if being on your back is not so comfortable. Okay. Let's go ahead and find our way. All right, so let's reach the arms up overhead and just find a really beautiful, good stretch. So lengthening through your sides, reach one heel away, then the other heel away, kind of letting your hips do their own thing. So finding some asymmetry in the pelvis. So hiking one hip up and then bringing that hip down and hiking the other hip up. Feel into the side bodies. Relax. Bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a hug. You can rock a little bit from side to side. You can have your knees far apart if that's more comfortable instead of right close together. All right, let's circle the knees a few times one direction. Circle your knees a few times the other direction, just feeling into your sacrum here, your SI joints. Oftentimes when we do a hip practice, really we're touching into the SI joints, not just the hip joints. So let's feel how they are today. And then as you're ready, open up your knees away from each other and then bring them back in toward each other. Just feeling what's the range of motion available in your hip joints today? What's the trajectory of movement that's comfortable for your femur bones in the hip joints? And then pause with your knees as wide apart as they comfortably will go for a moment. And just notice, of course, you might feel the inner thighs stretch, the muscles, but feel into the hip joints themselves and just notice what external rotation and abduction. Abduction is when you bring your legs away from the midline, and external rotation is when you roll into an external rotation. So feel a little bit of both happening in your hip joints and let that settle. And maybe it doesn't settle. Do you have any pain or discomfort when you do this? And then go ahead and bring the knees back. Spread your limbs wide on the floor. Arms and legs stretch out to a star. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And then exhale and draw your knees into your chest. Pick up your head, a good squeeze. Expand your body open one more time. Star out on the ground. Exhale, draw it on in. Put your head down, keep your right knee in. Stretch your left leg long on the floor. And go ahead and roll around your ankles and move your feet, just waking up some of the bones and tissues and muscles. So much going on in our feet, and we shove them into shoes all day. So let's just let them spread out and widen and feel like they have eyes where your feet can see. And then change sides when you're ready. Left knee in, right leg long on the floor. Feel into the movement of your ankles and the bones of your feet here. So you can do some rolls or some flexion, an extension, or just wiggles, whatever feels good. Good squeeze in your hip. All right, and then spread your limbs out on the floor again. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, knees into the chest. Come rolling over onto your side and come up onto all fours. Okay, so once you come onto all fours, let's just notice how your spine is today. Start moving through some cat-cows. Remember that beautiful breath you started with. See if we can stay present with our breathing body. It's such a gift to stay inside the breath. I think we all know the moments that we've had where we're really connected to our breath and how good it feels, and then how easily it can slip away and our consciousness can move away from the breath. So whenever you think of it, just bring yourself back into harmony. See if you can breathe through your nose as much as you possibly can. And then let's move around so you can wag your tail or do some circles through your spine, through your hips, through your shoulders, any kind of movement that feels really nice. So try not to attach to one thing or another, just let your body move. Let's go ahead and rest back into child's pose. Take your hips back toward your heels and stretch through your spine. Deep breaths here. Your knees can be as close or as far as what's comfortable for you. Let's walk the hands over to one side, so we're stretching through the side body. Feel into the breath here. Notice what's available. Relax the base of the skull. Try not to pick up the head. Let it drop down. We unconsciously hold so much tension in our neck, so let the head feel heavy. If it can rest on something, let it rest. Over to the other side you go. Walk the hands to the other side of the mat. Feel into the stretch in your side body. Melt the skull. Take some beautiful big breaths. Come back. Come up onto all fours again. Feel your spine swish around. Okay, we're going to lift the left arm up in the air and then exhale and find a twist here. See what it feels like. Shoulders away from the ears, breathing deeply. Ground yourself. So feel the knees weight into the earth. Maybe your head is resting. And then reach, lift that arm all the way back up in the air. Place the hand down onto the ground and switch sides. The arm lifts up. And as you're ready, bring that arm under, twisting to this side. And just notice, when you twist your spine, do you have a pattern that's more comfortable? Do you like twisting to one side more than the other? Pay attention to these subtleties. They're usually artifacts of the history of our movement patterns. We have patterns that we have trodden well in our bodies. And sometimes when we take the path less traveled, it can be a wake up for the nervous system. And this is a good thing, even if it's a little less comfortable. Okay, rise up, bring that arm all the way to the sky, and place your hand down onto the ground. Let's pause on all fours here. Notice your diaphragm. See if you can just loosen things up a moment so your diaphragm has the capacity to move, that we're not locked in your belly. Take a breath. And then curl the toes under and lift up to dog pose when you're ready. All right, so ground through your hands and your feet. You can take your feet hip width apart or wider, whichever is comfortable. Feel into the length of your spine and take a moment to yield. So feel the crescent in between the index finger and thumb mounds. Ground in the index finger and thumb mounds so that your weight isn't all bearing into the outer hands. And then hug the hands toward each other on the mat to feel that you have some support. Recruit some muscles in your torso to help your shoulders. Feel free to bend your knees a lot. Okay, so you don't have to have a straight-legged pose especially in the very beginning of your practice. Just let everything be a little bit more gentle. Melt through your skull. And then if you want to pedal your feet, drop one heel, bend the other knee, drop the other heel, bend the other knee. You can go fast or slow. You can not do it at all and just be still. How's the breath? Long, full exhales, and let the exhale teach the inhale to come. All right, let's go ahead and walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Once again, long exhales. When we lengthen the exhale, we have a natural rebound of a good inhale. Sometimes we focus a lot on the inhales, and we end up filling the tank really high, like in our neck and shoulders, instead of remembering that we need to have a complete exhale so there's room for the next inhale. Let's come up, hands on blocks. You can always take your feet wider than hip width apart. You can always turn your toes in. This will allow the inner thighs to roll back. Give a lot of space to the pelvic floor. Root into the four corners of your feet now, just like we just did in the hands. See if you can feel that into the feet, the big toe mounts, the pinky toe mounts, and either just the center of your heel, like a tripod, toes and heel, or either side of the heels, left and right. So you decide how your center points want to feel. Whatever you're finding, ground into the earth, yield, sink a bit, and then lift from your arches all the way up through your tibias and fibulas, through your femur bones, up through the center of your legs, all the way up to the hips. Take the tops of your thigh bones way back and lift your sit bones higher. So just waking up the backs of the legs a little bit. Let your neck be neutral. So if you're picking your head up, that might be a little hard on your neck. All right, and then let's melt. Soften the knees, bend, let the hips have a deep fold. Relax your neck, wobble it around, bobble it around. You can wag your tail or shake, whatever feels good. And we're going to drop your sit bones down, lift your chest up, and come up to rise. If you get dizzy when you come up, if you have blood pressure, bottoming out issues, you can always squeeze to the midline. You can cross one thigh over the other and squeeze, or your hands, or both. Squeezing will raise your blood pressure back up. Take an inhale, reach the arms to the sky, open the chest, lean back a little bit. Greet the day. So lift the heart to the day. Find the breath. What are you going to give with your heart today? Can you expand? Let it stretch out into the world a bit. And then cactus the arms. See the back body. Feel the back body. And then reach the arms up one more time. Exhale, cactus the arms. Feel the strength in the back of your body. And then exhale and forward your chin down. Bring your forearms to touch. Okay. Last time, arms up. Cactus the arms out. Exhale, fold forward a little bit. Forearms can come to touch. You can come to the ground. Inhale for a halfway lift. The spine gets really long, the thighs too. Exhale and melt. Step your left foot back. The right foot is coming forward. So I like to have my hands on the blocks. It keeps my spine long and spacious. And it gives me a little more room to breathe. It gives me a little more room to organize my pelvis. So just see if you like the blocks. All right, let's start to bend and straighten the front knee. So we're straightening the front leg, tuck the chin a bit if you want, and then bend the front knee. So move with breath. So if you need a little extra room for your belly, you can always take your front foot out to the side more. There's always ways to accommodate some space that's needed. Find your breath. All right, if you're conserving energy, you can put your back knee down on the ground. If you've got some good energy, then you can just rise up and come into crescent lunge. So your arms can stay down, your arms can come up, or they can go anywhere you want them to be. So, remember that the practice isn't rote, that we're not just like, now we do this pose, now we do this pose, but we're finding what's needed today. What's your body feeling right now? What feels best? What supports you best? How is your breath? Are your postures supporting your breath? And is your breath supporting your posture? Do you feel stable? Can you ground a little bit more? Is there some freedom to be had? Maybe in your neck and shoulders. Exhale and release the hands down onto the ground. Back foot comes forward, fold in half. Halfway lift, hands on blocks again. Thigh bones move back. Lift the tip of the tailbone up. Let the pelvis spill forward. Root into the four corners of your feet. When your legs are straight like this, if you tend to hyperextend, be mindful. See if you can take your shins forward and your thighs back so your knees kind of get caught in the net of those actions and they can't slam back. Relax your neck. Find your breath again. And then release and fold. Step your right foot back. Left foot comes forward. Come into a lunge. Enjoy the open heart. Find what you need today. Do you need to put your knee down? Do you want to put your hands lower or higher? How's your breath? How's your sense of grounding? All right, let's go back and forth, bending and straightening the front knee. Finding your breathing as you move. Square hips the whole way. Remember not to go anywhere without your breath. It's your guiding light. All right, so find a lunge. When you're ready, rise up, bring the arms to the sky or out to the sides, or hands to your heart, or hands on your hips. Find the pathway that feels best for your body. Try not to compress into the lumbar spine. Rise out of the pelvis. Press through the front heels so that we're starting to activate the glutes, getting things turned on, open things up. Find the breath again. All right, let's release the hands down. Come back to dog pose. Extend through the spine here. Breathing well, melt the skull, let the brain rest inside the skull. Find a sense of ease in this posture. Enjoy the inversion. Remember to ground the inner hands as much as the outer hands. Hug your hands toward each other so you can feel your lats and your serratus and your torso help so you're not just leaning into shoulder joints. Full breaths, a long spine. When you're ready, come forward into a plank. You can always put your knees down if you're needing more support. Shoulders are away from the ears. Find the integration here. It's a very integrating posture. Feel everything come to the midline. Even your focus, see if you can center into a center point with your eyes on the mat. Feel your breath expand. Let your ribs move here. And then put your knees down if you need to. Come down onto the floor. Roll the shoulders a few times so you get a feeling of opening across your collarbones and your shoulders. Take a deep breath. Cobra pose. On your exhale, melt back down. Keep the elbows bent and the shoulders away from the ears. Stretch into the front body. Exhale and come back down. Let's do one more. Feel the extension. Reach into the legs. And then exhale. And relax to come back. Come up onto all fours. Moving your spine about. Any kind of range of motion that feels really good. We're going to come back to child's pose. Settle the hips toward the heels. Find your breath. All right, then come back up onto all fours. If you need a little wrist break, just stop for a minute and shake out your wrists. And remember, if you don't do well with wrists, hands on the floor, you can take fists. You can also put forearms on blocks. There's ways to take the pressure off of your wrists if you need it. Bird dog, stretch your left leg straight back behind you. Start to integrate your glutes and your hamstrings to become like one unit. Pulse a couple of times. And then as you're ready, other hand out in front of you. Feel the breath, integrate into the core. Maybe if you're supporting yourself a little bit more, you just have your leg and you keep both hands down onto the ground. Breathing well. And then release and place that hand and knee down onto the ground. Second side, stretch that leg out behind you. Integrate the glutes and the hamstrings. And just like before, when we were feeling a twist may feel different on one side than the other, notice if here, if you have more awareness or strength in one glute hamstring complex than another. Okay? When you're ready, or if you're ever ready, bring the arm out in front of you. Integrate in the core. So if you're trying to take a little pressure off of your core, two hands down onto the ground. Okay. Feel your breath. Integrate here. Keep the neck soft. Find your breathing. All right, put that hand and knee down onto the ground. Check in with your wrists. We're going to repeat it slightly differently. So we got a little bit more on the hands. So make adjustments if you need. Take the left leg straight back again. Integrate into the core. So hips are square. Toes are pointing toward the floor. And we're going to take the leg out to the side. Okay, so it changes a little bit of everything in your core. You can keep two hands onto the ground or lift your right arm out to the side. All right, so find your breath, working with those outer hip muscles, and then coming back and placing the hand and knee onto the ground. Second side, right leg comes out, toes pointing to the floor. Bring your leg out to the side. Our toes stay facing the ground. Integrate your core. Keep 2 hands on the ground. If you need more stability, left arm out to the side if you're ready to go. Okay, so find the breath. Keep the neck soft. You don't have to hold this pose in the back of your head. All right, and then come down and relax. Take your hips back toward the heels. And we're going to come to lie down on our right side for a moment. Okay, bend your knees. You can support underneath your head. I think you've all done clamshells before. It's a great way to, you have 6 muscles underneath your 3 glutes. So you have 9 muscles in your butt. That's a lot of muscles in your butt. You have the 3 glute muscles, medius, maximus, and minimus, gluteus. And then you have 6 smaller muscles that are in charge of externally rotating your leg, as well as some stabilization. So we're going to work a little bit with those. Bend your knees, okay? And we're just going to open one knee away from the other and bring it back. Now, try not to rock your whole torso. So we're trying to keep our shoulders stacked, one over the other, our hips stacked, one over the other. So we're really isolating this movement of external rotation, pulling the knees apart in some abduction and rotation. So breathing well. Where do you like to inhale? Where do you like to exhale? I'm so bad at counting, so we're not counting. We'll just kind of do a few and then hopefully it'll feel balanced on the other side. If you are counting, make sure you do the same on the other side. All right, now remember, you can press your right leg into the ground as much as you're lifting the left leg up in the air. Notice the subtle engagement of your pelvic floor when you do this. All right, and then relax and just melt for a moment. Just let that seep in. And then we're going to come over to the left side. Lie on your left side. Knees are bent. Support underneath your head with your arm, or maybe you're using a blanket. Okay, so we're stacking our shoulders and we're stacking our hips. We're not letting anything, roll while we do this. All right, so press just a little bit. Press your left leg into the ground as we open the right leg up. So you don't have to do a huge press, but we want to have a sense of stability. It's very easy to hold your breath while you're doing something like this. So keep your breath moving. See what it feels like to relax your neck. Unfortunately, our necks think they are in charge of everywhere in our body. They're like, oh, I can do that motion. And they think they can help even with this. So let the neck rest. See if you can take some ease. How is your hip feeling? So just notice as you open and close your clamshell. Does the side feel a little bit more intense, less intense? Do you have more range of motion, less? Are you fatiguing faster? Probably because, we were using this hip when we were doing the other side as well. Feel into those small muscles behind the big strong glutes. Let's do one more. And then go ahead and relax. Just melt and let that seep in a little bit. So we're just letting it soften. And then come down onto your back. Okay. Heels come close in. We're going to lift up into a bridge. So climb up onto the tops of your shoulders. Find your way into this posture. Ground your feet. So 4 corners of feet. Big toe mounds. Pinky toe mounds, inner and outer heels. And if you're not sure if you have all your muscles turned on, play with your feet. Push your feet away from your torso to make sure your quads are here for you. Pull your feet toward your torso to make sure your hamstrings and glutes are here for you. Pull your feet toward each other to light up your inner thighs. and pull your feet away from each other to feel the outer hips. And then try to integrate all of them. Big belly breaths. And then relax and melt down onto the ground. Windshield wiper your knees, just rocking left and right. Full breaths. Then we're going to roll over onto our side and come up onto your hands and your knees. All right, so just feel into any movement that feels good, eventually finding your way to dog pose. Long spine here, stretch out the glutes here for a moment. And let's walk our feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Fold again, relax your neck. Halfway lift, spine grows. Exhale and melt to fold. Stand up, so seat down and chest up. If you're dizzy, you know what to do. Take your feet to the width of the mat or a little wider, your decision. Turn your toes straight or out, whatever feels natural for the move, the angle of your knees. Just come into a squat. You can take your elbows on top of the knees or inside the knees, whichever feels good today. Spread out the bones of the feet. Find your breath. All right, just get used to that deep compression in the hips, wide sit bones, grounded feet. Breathing deeply. And then rise up. Bring the arms to the sky. And relax your hands down. Pause for a moment. Deep breath in and away. And we're going to heel toe your feet in. And we're going to grab our chair. Okay. So if you've never done this before, it's kind of fun. It's just different. We'll just do a couple of poses this way. So we're going to sit on the front edge of our chair with our chair facing the long edge of the mat. Sometimes a block can be helpful if if your chair is not the right size for you. You can put blocks under your feet if they are too. That's much rarer. You have to be pretty tiny for that, but if you can do that, and you can also, if the chair is too short for you, you can put a blanket underneath your pelvis or a pillow. So just find some angles that are right. And we're going to come into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. So come into the front of your chair. So you might notice, whoa, if I try to have my heel in line with my front sit bone, if I line up my heel, my knee, and my front sit bone on a good line, then having the back heel on that same, or the back arch in that same line is very difficult. So I want you to forget that that's what you have been ever taught, that that's what's right. Okay, so let your back leg move forward. Maybe your heel aligned, maybe you're even wider than that. Okay, so you want to make space for your pelvis instead of feeling like you have to squeeze yourself between two panes of glass. I've heard that cue so many times in yoga class. Fit yourself between two panes of glass. That's not how our bodies work. Okay, so allow the pelvis to turn a little bit toward your front knee. Wherever your SI joints feel like that's a good place. Once you're in a happy place, take the top of your back thigh, your left thigh, take it back just to the place where you can open up. Okay, so remember, you can have your pelvis turn toward your front leg. Ground your front foot. If you need blocks under your feet, you can use that if you're short, and then reach the arms out to the side. Now, if you're very turned toward your front knee, try not to turn your chest back to the long edge. Let your sternum land right over your pelvis. So it might look a little wonky, and that's okay. Relax the shoulders. Now press your feet into the ground and feel the work in the outer hips. There's a lot your neck wants to do, so let it rest. Press your feet, four corners of both feet moving into the earth. All right, let's go ahead and relax that. We're going to come back to center. Pause with your knees hip width apart or closer for a moment, and just let your femur bones kind of find their way back into a neutral territory. So even, with that allowing us to turn toward the front hip, it's a big stretch for the back leg. So we want to make sure that we're not overdoing. And this is why we want to make sure we start with the front heel. So we're going to the second side now. Front heel, knee, and sit bone all on one plane. The back leg adjusts to that plane. So you might have one side that's more open than the other. So perhaps your heel arch, maybe your foot is much forward toward the long edge of your mat. Okay, so find what's right for your body. And then we don't want to like sink into the chair. We want to imagine that the chair is not there. Okay, so allow your hip to turn to the left as much as you need, but only as much as you need. So don't turn all the way for no reason. Just go to the place where your sacroiliac joints on the back body are not freaking out. Okay. Then once you're ready, take the head of the femur bone back, round through both feet. So try to like push yourself off the chair. Stretch your arms out to the side. Remember, chest over pelvis. Turn your head to gaze out over your hand. Soften the shoulders down. Stay rooted through the feet. So there's a lot of rotation. You can even pretend to spin a little jar lid. So with your left foot, toes kind of isometrically drag to the left while heel drags to the right. So we turn on some of those deep muscles underneath our glutes. Okay, now relax. So probably if we were doing this pose without a chair, that same sensation wouldn't occur, right? We may not go as deep with our lunge. We may not be able to hold the alignment quite the same. Okay, so let's just spin our knees left and right, releasing the hips. This is a strong way of practicing. It's not a cop-out to be like, oh, I'm just going to sit in the chair. It's just different. It's a different way of practicing your standing poses. All right, so same alignment with the legs. Find where you are. You might notice, oh, I'm a little bit more open than I was the first time around. So your alignment may shift. Find the breath. Front heel, knee, and sit bone. Drag your right foot. So heel presses down and drags to the left. Toes press down and drag to the right. And then place your elbow on your knee and stretch your arm overhead for Parseval Khanasana. Now, it's easy to get all your weight to move into your front leg here. So bear into the back leg. Take the thigh bone back. The hip can turn toward the front knee as much as needed. Take the head of the femur bone back. Ground through your 2 feet. Press into the earth. How's the neck? Is it wanting to do the pose? See if you can rest. All right. Come out of there. Okay. One more time, because this is a very deep way of practicing. Try to take a little ease in between. Just let your legs rock. And then we're going to go to the second side. So we're on the front edge of the chair. Line up the front heel, knee, and sit bone. Let the back hip orient to that. Once it's where it's comfortable, take the thigh bone back and ground through the back heel. Maybe spin your front foot a little bit. Isometrically drag your foot. So left toes go left, or toes on your left foot go left, heel goes right. Just a little bit. It's like an isometric pull on the mat. Lengthen through your spine. Put your elbow on your knee. Feel the spine. It's not just about the legs. It's about the length in your body. So ground, yield into the earth, and then reach and extend. Try to use the chair as little as possible. Really relax the neck. Pressing the 2 feet into the floor. Holding open that external rotation in the front leg. Where are you tense that you do not need to be? Come out of there. One more time, bring your knees back to neutral and just let your feet rock, or your knees rock, left and right. Okay. last of the externally rotated poses we'll do. We're on the front edge of the sit bone. So we're coming into a goddess pose. Feet are turned out. Okay. So for a moment, we're going to just lean a little bit toward one knee. Then come on up, lean a little bit toward the other. Just opening our inner thighs here. Finding your breath. And then come back. All right, bring the arms up. Ground through the feet. Spin 2 jar lids with your feet. So toes turn toward the wall behind you. Heels pull toward the space in front of you. Breathe well. Relax your neck. You can take your arms in a different position if need be. If you tend to lean into one leg, if you have a knee that you don't prefer so much, let the chair help you even things out. All right, and then relax. Bring your legs together. Last time to just let your legs rock left and right. So anyone who says doing yoga on a chair, doing standing poses on a chair is easier, hasn't done yoga on a chair, right? It's just different type of work. So sometimes taking a little bit of the weight bearing off of our joints can help us sink into places in the body that we're not always so used to attuning to. Okay, take your feet either directly underneath your knees or a little closer. Tip onto the front edge of your chair, tip forward a little bit, chair pose. We'll do chair in a chair, okay? So if you can always take your knees wider. I would recommend that if you feel like you need more space, okay? So you do you. Stretch and lengthen. Feel the length of the spine. So there's a lot of work in the spine here. Feel it, reach up. Find the ground of your seat and rise with your upper body. And then relax. We're going to turn to, let's see, turn to on the right side of your, turn to the right, okay? So our feet are planted on the ground. This is a challenging twist, so adjust if you need. Okay, we're going to take our hands onto the chair, and it's an open twist, so it's an okay twist, but maybe don't push so hard if you know twisting is a little too straining on your body. So ground your feet, ground your sit bones, find the lines, put your hands on the chair behind you, and we're going to pull with our left and push with our right. Now, most times I say don't pull or push any bones on bones to do the twist. And this is just a hint. So I don't want you to ratchet yourself with all your effort. I want the feeling of your hands moving into the chair just as a sense of guidance. The breath is really what's twisting you, and the oblique muscles are what's twisting you, not the effort of the chair. All right, come back, spin around to the other side, feet on the floor, hip width apart, ground yourself before we twist, and then turn around and grab the back of the chair. We're going to push with the left and pull with the right. Very gentle. It's just a guidance. Drop the shoulder blades down and notice your body. Are you rolling way back onto your tailbone? See if you can stay in a neutral spine. We're also not pushing our pelvis way forward where we're arching the back. Just be in as neutral a position in your spine as you can. Reach your crown. Come into the breath. The breath is what twists you. All right, and then come back round one last time to the front edge of your chair. Well, maybe not last time, but stretch your legs. Okay, and we're going to lean forward a little bit. Hopefully your chair is on your sticky mat, so it's not going to slide when you do this. You don't want to fall out of the chair. Toes flex, lift your spine. Okay, now we're going to change directions a little bit and stretch instead of having so much effort. May not feel that way for this first one, but it will be stretching your hip flexors. So we're going to turn to the right. So we are going to have our right leg stay where it's at, and we're going to stretch the left leg back into a lunge. Okay, so your right thigh is on the chair, your left leg obviously is off. You can hold the chair and just stay here. You can lift one arm up, you can lift two arms up. Okay, so whatever feels good for a crescent lunge on the chair. Focus on the openness of the hip flexors of that back leg. Breathing deeply. Keep the hips square. And for you, it might be that your knee is bent in the back. So the pose might look like this. It may not look like that, and that's okay. You just be where you are. Come back to center. Last spin that we'll do. Okay, so now our left leg is in the front. Our right leg is behind. Now you might have some straight leg going on. You might have a bent knee going on. So just be wherever you are. Try not to let the low back have a deep compression. See if you can stay into the openness. Press your feet into the ground. Maybe one arm lifts and you hold the chair with the other. Maybe two arms lift. Maybe you put your hands on the chair and just support yourself. So just find what feels good. Open the hip flexors of that back leg. Breathing well. All right. And come back around. Knees close or knees apart. You decide. We're folding forward. Allow yourself to rest. Stretch your back a little bit. We're going to come into a variation of pigeon on the chair. So come to the front edge of your chair. We're going to take our right leg up onto our left knee. And first, just notice the wrinkles in your right ankle. So try to erase them. So we're stretching the heel away from the knee. Pull your pinky toe side of your foot toward your knee. Have your hands behind your chair to help you lift the spine and the chest. And don't be afraid to let yourself tip a little bit. So tip the pelvis, a little anterior tilt of the pelvis. Open up through your chest. Find your breathing. I have my hands, I have a backless chair, so it's easy. I have my hands on the back of the chair. You can have your hands on the bottom of, the seat of the chair, whatever is comfortable for your body. All right, now if you're able, we're going to add a little twist into this. So we're going to take our hand to the foot and twist open. You can hold the back of the chair. Now you don't have to do this twist if your body was at its max before. Keep the chest lifted. Some people press on the knee. If you're going to do that, be really mindful that anytime you use leverage on a joint, you run you're taking little risks in your joint, and you may not feel it in your knee, but your SI joint might feel like it's being pried open like a can opener. So practice wisely. All right, let's go ahead and come back. 2 feet onto the ground. Switch sides. This will be the last thing we do on the chair, and then we're going to get off the chair. Thank you for trying something different. Okay. So stretch through the heel, the inner heel. We'll get rid of your ankle wrinkles. And first, before we go very far, notice, how is this side compared to my other side? Am I tighter in this hip? Am I looser in this hip? Do I have more or less range of motion? So lift the spine. Hands can be on the back of the chair or on the seat of the chair to help you lengthen the spine and open the heart. Tip the pelvis forward, a little anterior tilt of the pelvis. Finding that rotation. Now, it's cool because when our knees, when our hip is flexed 90 degrees like this or more, the piriformis, which is one of those big muscles in the back that externally rotates your leg, the piriformis changes its action And now doing this external rotation stretches the muscle instead of flexes the muscle. I always find it interesting when, when a muscle can bat lefty or righty, depending on the position of your body. So deep gratitude for our piriform. It's such a good muscle. It attaches your sacrum to your femur bone. All right, let's go ahead and relax to come out of there. 2 legs together or hip width apart. Fold forward. Just relax your body. Come into the breath. Okay, when you're ready, go ahead and stand up. Take yourself out of that chair. Come to the front of your mat. Breathing deep. So once you're ready, rise up, arms to the sky. Exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, thigh bones move back, stretch your legs. Exhale and relax. Step back to dog pose. Take your legs wide and turn your toes in. Let the inner thighs roll back. So a little internal rotation of our legs. Feel into the space of the hamstrings and the calves and the pelvic floor and the diaphragm. Lots of room here. Breathing well. Okay, let's come forward into a plank. You can put your feet back to neutral. And then lower yourself down to the ground. Take a breath. Cobra pose. Exhale and relax. Okay, come on to all fours. We're going to come onto our back. Okay. Feet are going to be hip width apart on the mat. So if I don't explain this well, you can always just look at me for a moment. But the arms are out to the sides like a T. And I want you to get some internal rotation in your thighs now. So with your right leg, we're going to drop the right knee toward the left foot. So you just get a little internal rotation in that hip. The left leg, just kind of let it be where it's going to be. Breathe in. Don't forget to breathe back out. And then pick that leg up. Switch sides. So we're going to take our left knee toward our right foot. So a little internal rotation. We're going to kind of land on the inner foot here. A little internal rotation of that thigh. If your back needs a little support, there's all sorts of ways. I tend to like to cross my right leg and use my right foot to kind of bear a little bit extra weight down onto my left leg, but you do you. Relax that and come out. Simple twist. Feet on the ground, lift your hips, scooch them over to the right, knees come up and drop them to the left. All right, so enjoy the twist. Let your body melt into the twist. Nice and easy. Let the head relax. There's a sense of deep weight. Melt the shoulders. Inhale, lift your knees up, neutral, and then move your hips left. Knees come up toward chest and drop them right. Support anything that needs support with props. Maybe under your right shin, maybe your head needs a blanket, just whatever your body needs. Deep breaths here. All right, and then come back up. Bring your knees to your chest, rock around a little bit. And then ask yourself if there's anything else you need before Shavasana. If you're ready, if you find something you need, do it. If you're ready, I would suggest putting your legs up on that chair. Put a blanket on top of it if you want, and just let your calves be up on something, either a couch or the chair we were just working with. Or you could just put a bolster or some blankets underneath your knees if you don't want to have your legs that high. So your choice. I am choosing the couch because I want my knees to be wider apart than what the chair would allow me to feel. But that's just what my body's asking for right now. So follow what your body is asking for. You can always do Shavasana on your side. And if it's difficult to lay on your back, you can lay on your side and prop between your knees all the way down to in between your ankles. Support under your head. Heck, you can do Shavasana in child's pose. There's lots of choices. So whatever you're finding that allows you to be totally restful. As you're ready, begin to move a bit, maybe wiggling your toes or rolling your ankles, maybe moving your hands or your wrists, maybe turning your head from one side to the other. Deepen your breath. Choose a way to come onto your side and come up to sit. Once you find your seat, just take a moment to absorb your practice, the gifts that come from being present with ourselves to be embodied. Let's offer this sense of awareness and energy that we've cultivated. Let's offer our energy to another, someone who needs your love and your care. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful